Welcome to Stirring Strength, Perspectives on Mental Health and Addiction. I'm your host, Dean Anderson, and on today's show, we have Cindy Benning. Cindy is the author of Being Brave. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Dean. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm glad you're excited because we're going to run through some great stuff. You're going to share some insight on your book and some things that have happened in your life and your own personal story, which I'm excited to learn more about. All right?
Can't wait.
I right out to start things, I'd like you to talk a little bit about Being Brave, the book. What's the motivation behind being an author?
I'm not 100% sure what motivated me to sit down and write, but I know that for a lot of my life, I was struggling with why I was so successful professionally, but personally, I wasn't. I had failing relationships over and over again. Like it's almost like every 10 years, there was a different one. And then on top of that, I because of my successful career, I worked with a lot of different leaders and types of leaders. Mm-hmm. And when I left industry, it was because of a particular leader that was really not a great leader. Okay. And so I started to think about what I did well and how I could share that about leadership, and came up with the acronym BRAVE, which is not really what you would think. It's not just about being brave and courageous and all of that. It's an acronym for leadership virtues that I believe in my whole heart belong in organizations.
Cool. So you, not sure why pen to paper, but it sounds like some deeper searching and understanding of yourself, and then it came to fruition to understand that there's more to the leadership and the things that you've done and created in your life. Mm-hmm. Can you share with me the acronym? What's the acronym?
Absolutely. It's Benevolence. Mm-hmm. So about being, not just being kind, but being kind in an altruistic way for the well-being of everyone. It's about being respectful, no matter what, not just about general respect, but it gets into inclusivity and diversity and respecting other people's opinions and allowing them to be at the table.
Awesome.
Authenticity, of course, is being genuine and being true to yourself and aligning your behaviors with your core values. Because if you don't do that, you're going to suffer. And that's mm-hmm. kind of what I get into in the book. Mm-hmm. And then vulnerability, having the courage to admit that you don't know everything, to admit when you're wrong, and sharing that when it's appropriate as a leader. Mm-hmm. So that it can almost build trust. So the idea is building trust in an organization.
Without a doubt, yes.
And emotional consciousness, and we've all heard about emotional intelligence, but I use consciousness because I wanted to take it to a deeper level to get people to understand that their emotions are triggered by thought, and that you need to start to be self-aware enough to recognize the thought behind the emotion and how valid it is mm-hmm. in the scenario that you're in.
Yeah, so some of the understandings of cognitive behavioral therapy, or some I know as CBT, is kind of that idea. There's a thought behind the emotion, and some of that. That's a really broad stroke of
it is
really powerful, ideas of living, not just leadership, but just living a healthy lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you've got a wonderful acronym there.
Yeah, and it's about being and not doing, and that's what I wanted to stress to leaders.
Okay. Being
a leader is more about being than doing.
Okay.
Everything you do doesn't matter if you're not that person, the mm-hmm. behaviors.
Okay. So we're going to try to talk to the audience like they have no clue what that means, so we can get a better understanding of the difference between being and doing. I believe I have an understanding of what that means mm-hmm. in the work that I do and the people that I work with. In my own personal life, I see when I'm too busy doing and not being, and it doesn't get good. What does that mean to you when you say a difference between being and doing?
Well, here's an example. When I worked in industry, there came a point in time where I had to close some manufacturing sites.
Okay.
And so as a leader, trying to work through that with the employees, to talk to them, required being compassionate mm-hmm. and treating them like they're humans, that mm-hmm. they had to come into work every day knowing they weren't going to have a job, treating them with dignity. So it's the difference between being just okay, here's what we're going to do today, and here's why we're doing it, and here's why you're important because of this. This is why we need you.
Okay.
So it's bringing the humanity into the relationship.
Okay. Okay. Because the being part, in my understanding, has dual purpose. So it could be being as in just be present. That's usually my being, just be, instead of always having to do. But then you're talking about being also as in the idea of being a human being. Yeah. And being, human-led versus strategy-led or checklist-led, which negates the person that sits underneath.
And that's when cultures thrive, when you bring that humanity in.
So when we're looking at that from a corporate standpoint, that seems to be like a golden nugget that people struggle to find, right? Because I see it where they're like, we're just a big family in the workplace. And I was like, no, we're not. That's not how we treat and talk to each other. So there's misaligned values in a lot of that. It makes it very difficult. And without skipping to the end of the book or giving away all the trade secrets, what do you think is missing in that in the world right now that makes it so hard for us to get there?
Power, greed.
Oh.
So let's say you know that you need to have a better culture and you have limited money and you're going to spend your money on bringing a strategist in instead of somebody coming in to help with your culture because you don't get that ROI immediately or you don't recognize there's an ROI. It's too intangible. Yeah. So getting buy-in isn't easy.
Wow.
Getting that buy-in.
I 100% agree. The intangibility of the human condition and the value of mental health and well-being in the workplace, there's not really a chart, whereas there's a checklist and there's a really clear goals and
if you do this, this, and this, you get this.
KPIs and those sort of things that check the list. So you're proposing that there's something more underneath that needs to be explored at a bigger level.
Yeah. And there are studies that talk about what these behaviors do, and I do reference them in my book to say what happens in organizations when you implement these behaviors. But I just feel like it's been a hustle to try and get that message out there that this adds value.
Yeah, it's difficult. So there's obviously a personal space to this where you've seen these kind of worlds collide. So there's a personal motivation to understanding this. If you don't mind my asking, how does the BRAVE acronym play into your life? You said there's a dichotomy in your personal and professional life. And does this BRAVE acronym play a role personally as well?
The BRAVE role was more of a leadership thing because I worked with so many leaders that weren't great. And so I thought there's got to be a better way. And here's what I've done, which really isn't the dichotomy that I was talking about. Was the dichotomy of me having this knowledge of what leadership needs in the world and me being at home, not maybe being brave.
Okay.
And trying to figure out why things weren't working well for me personally.
Sure.
And maybe I still haven't figured it out how the BRAVE fits with my personal life because, well, being authentic and vulnerable and living aligned with your values maybe is something that I didn't do most of my life. I didn't recognize it.
Okay. So what I've found in my own experience is that in a corporate world, they tell you what the values are. So they're kind of really clearly aligned.
That's true, yeah.
And they're easy to identify. And I think that part of the concern we have is that real life doesn't do that. There's no clear guidelines on those values.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean to me?
Yeah.
And that's part of the communication in organizations that they miss.
Yeah. Because when we take a large group of people, inherently everyone's going to have a different set of values or a different idea of authenticity and what that means.
But ask somebody in their 20s or 30s what their values are. They'll have no idea. I mean, I didn't, and I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know what their core values are.
I agree.
But you only know that you're suffering a little bit, that something's not right. And you don't know that that's because you're not living aligned with your values, because you haven't figured that out yet. And that's kind of where my whole story comes in, is I didn't figure it out.
Right.
I was just playing the role that I thought I needed to play through life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So seeing a disconnect between the values at work and the values at home, is that part of the dichotomy? Like seeing that there's...
Not even recognizing that.
But feeling the discomfort as a result of, but not knowing
Yeah.
that it's there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
so at work, I succeeded and I figured it out, because my need to be validated and please, perfect, perform, prove, the 4 Ps, my whole life. That's all I wanted to do.
Say those again.
Please, perfect, perform, prove.
Okay.
So I just want to prove that I'm valuable. I want to be perfect so that nobody gets mad at me. It was all about validation. And I figured that out much later in life, that that's what I was doing. So that's what I spent my life, trying to do the right thing. Didn't work so well, given the choices that I made personally. It worked well in corporate.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Those P's sound great in the workforce. So like
Yeah.
I want I want a team of staff members in my office that are doing those P's, right?
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily work for the person.
Right. Yeah.
The 5th P.
Yeah.
I guess neglected.
Person. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So recognizing these differences and deciding that, putting pen to paper is something that's important to you.
It was cathartic.
Cathartic. So it was a good start.
Yeah.
A good start to walk through what that might look like. Was there anything that surprised you? So you're writing the book and then you're like, something came out and you're like, I never really thought of that. Or any epiphany moments where you're like, you know what, that's something I learned about myself while doing it. I would hope so,
Yeah.
but anything that you're willing to share.
Well, it was interesting because at the same time I was writing the book, and part of the reason I wrote it was the support that I got from my partner, Robert. And he was at the same time teaching me, as he does, about ego and the difference between your thoughts and what's valid and what's not valid. And those were some things that I started to really unwrap, I guess, is the right word, or one of the words, to understand that everything that was going through my head, I needed to really look at it, and that it wasn't necessarily real, that it was something from experience. So everything that you think of, you don't have to believe,
Yeah.
So trying to separate those things.
Sure. Easier said than done.
It takes so much practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a journey.
Yeah. I'm familiar with Robert, and we'll say hi to Robert. Hi, Robert Holmes. And I'm glad that you had the opportunity to be able to reflect and look at that in a different light, from a different perspective. So while you're doing this book, you're also learning how to connect with yourself.
Yes.
Prior to the show, you talked a little bit about some of the things happening in your personal life at the same time while you're going into the corporate world and learning how to figure out management and leadership, that there's stuff happening in your personal life. Are you comfortable with talking about your personal life, like how there was a difference between one and the other?
Well, I think I've said to you before that I spent my entire life either running toward or away from alcohol.
Okay.
And alcohol has played a huge part in my life, for good, for bad, for evil, whatever you want to call it. Starting from when I was a teenager, and you start drinking, and it became the point where it was a lifestyle, and it was an expectation almost to find a partner who drinks, because that's what we do. That's our lifestyle. And because I grew up in it and everything was fine, there were no issues with alcoholism. It was just fun. That's what you did, right? So I married somebody who ended up being an abusive alcoholic.
Okay.
And so it was like, so everybody who drinks doesn't just have fun. There's the first lesson, right? So I stayed with him maybe 5 years. I had a daughter with him. And I left him because of his behavior related to when he was drinking. Okay. Not even recognizing he was an alcoholic at the time.
More the behavior than like the way he acted versus the fact that he drank.
Yeah. Like,
okay.
I think he might be an alcoholic. but the way he is when he drinks, I don't want to be around that. And since he doesn't want to change, then I'm going to not be with him.
And it's not our place to diagnose either. So it's really difficult to say, I know what you are versus I just know I don't like how you're acting.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I had a 1-year-old at the time. And I got to the point where maybe I'm stupid enough to let myself be abused or live in that environment, but there's no way I'm raising a child in it.
Sure.
And that was kind of the turning point in that relationship. So then, of course, I'm 30 years old and I go out to a bar because I'm still like, I think it's okay to drink. I don't get into trouble. I just go out and I drink and I have fun. And
in comparison to the other behaviors, I'm pretty tame.
yeah, I'm
Sure.
tame. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. I can drink.
Yeah.
Not recognizing maybe I was drinking too much. I don't know. Didn't know what too much was. Met somebody else who was there at the bar. So warning. I don't listen to warning signs. And I think I gave him my phone number, and the next day or a couple of days later, he called me, and he had been arrested that night for intoxicated in public.
Oh.
You'd think that would trigger a warning? Nope.
No, that's kind of sexy.
That's okay. That's okay. It could happen to anyone, really.
Yeah.
Happen to anyone. So I ended up marrying him and having another child with him 11 years later, after my first child. And yes, he was an alcoholic. And yes, he was mildly abusive. I don't know how to describe it. But again, it got to the point where the behavior was the problem. I'm not going to be around this. I need you to leave. And it was impacting the relationship with my kids, because my oldest daughter at the time was 14 and their relationship wasn't good. It was strained, to say the least. And so I left him. So now it's like, okay, I can't be with these people that drink, so I'm go on online dating. I'm in my 40s now. Online dating. So I'm asking the questions. Do you drink? How much do you drink? You know, just have a few with the boys here and there. Yeah. Okay. I end up in another relationship. I stayed with this gentleman for 15 years, and for the most part, it was good. Then the drinking got more and more. I was drinking too much. Got to the point where, you know, I'd be drinking every day, 2 or 3, and on the weekend it would be 5 or 6, you know, Friday night, Saturday all day. And was between caffeine and Gravol. So I'd go to bed, take Gravol so I wouldn't be nauseous. In the morning, overdose on caffeine so that I could go at it again. And I thought, this isn't how I want to live. This is insane. And did he want to go down that path with me? No. He wouldn't commit to it. He couldn't commit to it. And on top of that, he started smoking weed pretty much every day. And that was just worse. It just made him into a person I didn't want to be around. I didn't enjoy being around. Not that he was a bad person, just not somebody that I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing this every day with. So off I went again after 15 years. And then I said, I'm going to be with somebody who doesn't drink at all. I'm done with this nonsense. So I meet Robert. And Robert's a recovering alcoholic, as you know. And he was 4 years sober. And he's, you know, he's smart, he's funny, he reads. None of those other guys would even read a book. So imagine, you know, because I consider myself fairly intelligent. So I'm like, this guy, he's well-read, he doesn't drink, he's funny. And so we move in together and he starts drinking again. And I'm like, no way. He hit it well for the first few months. And we went down this path that was really, really tough. But he came around and he figured it out. And he's now 2 years sober.
And from what I know of Robert, he's already given you permission to have the conversation about this today, right?
No, he hasn't.
No? Okay.
He said, don't talk about me, but he was joking.
He was joking. I
think he'll be okay with it.
Okay.
I think he's proud of his journey.
Yeah.
And he also knows that relapse gave him something that he didn't have before.
Sure.
Because he talks about that.
I believe it. I believe it.
So I think that he's there and he's going to stay there now. I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is because we talk about some of these relationships of our past, and we want to make sure that those conversations that we're having are not causing more harm in the future. So being the vulnerable space of the television show, we say, hey, you know what? We're going to have a hard conversation, but we got to be really confident that it's not going to cause any rifts out there, and because we're not here to cause more problems, we're here to have some healing and to share some stuff. So I believe you, and I think Rob, that's my reflection, understanding of Robert. He's very open about the idea of the growth and evolution that comes from our past. So I just want
he can help other people, he will too.
Absolutely true.
And I just want to share about the first two gentlemen that I was with. Both of them have died from alcoholism since then. One of them died when he was 48, my first husband, and my second husband died when he was 64, just last year.
Okay.
And that's where what impact did that have on my kids, you know? I have 2 daughters who are fatherless right now. And did they ever really have a father? They did, but the type of father that they deserved, you know? So I beat myself up a little bit about that.
Did you just minimize that?
Minimize me beating myself up?
You said a little bit, because I probably think it's more than a little bit.
I have a lot.
Okay, there we go.
But I've had hard conversations with my daughters about it too.
Okay.
And they don't blame me at all. And they have gotten or are still getting the help that they need to deal with and to cope with what they lived through. So,
well, that's fantastic that you're able to connect with them in that way, and that they're comfortable to have these conversations. So, because those are big life-changing things for everybody, and a lot of us identify with, you know, our childhood and what things were like growing up, and if anything, we can get some solace in adulthood through understanding of our growing up, so that we can, you know, feel fulfilled in the later years, because we can't undo those things, right?
Yeah, and my goal is to help them get there while they're still young, because it took me into my 50s to start to figure things out.
Yeah.
And so I have one who's 27 and one who's 37. So figuring it out now is way better than living your life trying to figure things out or wonder what's going on, which is what happened with me. It's like, why does this keep happening to me, you know?
Yeah.
Why do I keep making bad mistakes?
Yeah, I think we do the best that we know how to do with what we have in the moment, and I think that's, you know, not to brush away responsibility or to disregard the consequences of choices, but I think in the moment, you know, when the guy calls you and he says, you know, I got arrested last night, in that moment, I was like, I'm still attracted. I still like you. I still have those feelings and emotions that say it's okay to connect with you. And in that moment, you make the best choice you could possibly make. We end up measuring those choices based on hindsight. When I look back and I go, what was I thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is much different, right?
Sometimes we have people whispering in our ear saying, Cindy's just not good at choosing men, or Cindy's not good at relationships.
Okay.
And sometimes it's actually other people, and sometimes it's a voice in your head.
Sometimes it's the inner critic, right?
Yeah,
it's someone inside of us saying that thing, for sure. And especially when we have a history, we have proof, right? So the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I like to think that's not true, but it really is. It's to say, if I repeat that pattern, the likelihood of me repeating it is high. That's what makes addiction and mental health so difficult, because there's a pattern of behavior we follow. So once we're in it, we think, I'm kind of stuck in that. Yeah,
until self-awareness kind of comes into view, and you go, I need to really start paying more attention to my thoughts. And that's the key, I think, in any addiction, is self-awareness. What am I thinking right now, and why? And does it make sense? Is it serving me?
Yeah. Again, easier said than done, because there's also a narrative of those thoughts that have repeated for me for 50 years. So the thoughts just come. We don't have a choice on what they are, so they can sometimes be a little overwhelming.
Yeah. How do you train yourself to stop the thought long enough to think about it?
Yeah, to take a break in the response to the thought. Yeah, for sure. Looking at your acronym again, I think that what I find fascinating is I hear all these great things. Like, it's like, yeah, this is a way of living, right? The autonomy piece, though, in the center, that finding the autonomy. I think that there is a struggle in the real world right now with finding that autonomy, or there's a false sense of autonomy. Authenticity, sorry. My apologies. Authenticity. That's what I meant to say.
It's the same struggle.
I superimposed the words in my head.
It's the same struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So authenticity, my apologies. I think that there's right now in today's world, there is such a scream for trying to find that authenticity that everyone's trying to find their own unique niche in the world or what it is that makes them important. But then it turns into more separation or more problems or more arguing on the internet. Right.
But they're looking externally. That's the problem. You say everybody's trying to find themselves. Don't look out there. Look in here. That's what authenticity is. What's important to me, what drives me, not who do I want to be out in the world.
Right.
You do that first, and then you say, now how do I take that and turn it into who I want to be in the world?
Right. In my personal life, it's find that me, and then I don't look for it. It finds me. What I want to be in the world exposes itself. What's the old Zen proverb?
Woo-woo.
Is it woo-woo? It's woo-woo. It's, I don't know. It is something along the lines of when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Right.
So it's that idea.
What you put out in the world comes back.
Yeah, so when we get to a space of saying I can recognize my own self, my own recognition with self, then those things just kind of come out of the woodwork. They kind of evolve themselves and show up in that space, and it's very powerful.
It's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And I like what you said. I think that authenticity is, right now, is being very externally. I'll have my authenticity with the right sneakers or the right cell phone, but meanwhile, it's the same cell phone that 500,000 other people have, but I'm authentic because I have it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a life changer though when you actually figure out what's important to you deep down inside your core values, which are different than your beliefs, but your core values, and you live those, and you translate those into how you show up every day.
Yeah.
What a difference it makes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you can give me one takeaway that you would like people to take away from your book, in a personal or a professional, one thing that you would say would be the best takeaway from the book, what would it be?
I'm going to say more people need to focus on being than doing, and being the person that they want to be, that aligns with their core values, and stop worrying about everything that you're doing every day. And when you do find out, what is important to you, and you can be that person, it feels better. And then you start doing things that are automatically aligned with that.
Awesome.
And it can change the world.
I
believe.
Absolutely can. Awesome. So thank you again for being on the show. We'll have your book title and everything come across the bottom of the screen. And thank you for sharing your vulnerability and your life and some of the things in your book. And thank you for watching Stirring Strength, and we'll see you next time.